Hello, we're here. This is not an evil villain thing. It's excited, I guess. I'm a couple minutes late, as usual in my life, and I apologize. But I'm here for the first time in like 3 weeks. A couple weeks ago, I was taking a week off for myself, just for my brain to rest a little. And then last week I was just getting back into the swing of things and just was had too much going on. So I'm here. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Hi Sam, how you doing? Welcome. Um, so tell me all of the things. What are you feeling? Oh, my time limit is already going. Um, what are you dealing with in your singing life? I want to know. A theme that has been coming up a lot this week is singing with your whole body. And it happened to come up just in the timeline of my vocal magic program because we're talking about space. So we're in the space module now after getting grounded and after going through talking about air and breathing and all that. And now we're talking about where that air needs to go through and to and from. So the 3D spaces that we think about in our body when we're singing, because so often it's just so easy to feel like you're just singing from here, from this little box. And if you're not fully integrating your singing into your whole body, it can feel like all the pressure is riding on this little teeny bit of your instrument. Because yes, technically this is resonating, like this is what's making the actual sound. But there is a lot that goes into that, right? Like you have your lungs that are doing some hard work. You have your mouth that's doing some work after the fact, after the resonation, that's shaping the sound and it's giving feedback back to the vocal folds. So it's not just a linear instrument, right? It's systems that affect each other on the way out and the way back in. So, like, it's not just like a trumpet, like you blow and sound comes out. Like, you're regulating your air as you are allowing it to come out through sound, and you're getting feedback from your ears and from the shape of your mouth. It's giving a certain amount of resistance and back pressure that you hopefully get into a place where you start to notice that and can adjust some things. So the biggest, easiest example I can think of is when we're trying to hit a big high note and we have to do it on like an E vowel. We tend to default into how we would speak that E. And so we go, E, because we tighten up in here. We're letting it be very tight and small. E, and your tongue gets tight and your chewing muscles get tight and therefore your neck gets tight and closes up that space. So your pharynx is just like this instead of like this, which is what we want for a little better airflow to come through. So your ears hear that feedback and you go, "Ooh, that doesn't sound good." And also you feel that tightness and you're like, "Ooh, that doesn't feel good." And so you're giving that natural evidence to your brain that I can't sing that note, right? That's the evidence that you're getting, at least the subconscious feedback that you're getting. But what we want to do is to start feeling into, how do I have the control over this space? How can I actually change the space in my body to make a different note, to make that feedback change, to make it easier on myself and on my body, and to help my entire pharynx, the whole space, let it be the instrument, right? And so it's not just sending air through these vocal folds anymore. It's, oh, I am sending air through my vocal folds and they're going through this very small space. What would happen if I changed the shape of that space? What feedback would I then get? Because let me tell you, when you're belting at the top of your chest voice, or even at the extremes of your registers, whatever register, low or high, if you get that strained feedback, you're default is going to come in, whether you're a fighter or a flighter. So if you're a flighter or a freezer, you're going to just be like, ooh, I don't like that. I'm going to pull away from it, right? You're going to be like, ah, ee, and you're like going to be like, nope, not making that sound. And so you're going to not even try for it. You're going to try and change melodies so that you're not having to hit that high note, or you're going to try and hit that note and nothing's going to come out because your subconscious is taking care of that for you. It's like, no, I'm not even going to stick my neck out there to try that because I know that it's going to be painful or stuck. And so this system is an amazing, amazing machine, because if you can take control over what's happening in here, you can be the driver of this machine instead of letting your fears and your nervous system in a triggered state be in charge of this machine. You can get into a whole bunch of different states when you're singing. You can actually feel like what you're doing has effect on your voice instead of just being at the mercy of what your voice is at the moment, like how much quote unquote talent you have, or how much work you've done, or how much you have trained. There is a certain amount of stock to put in that, for sure, because they are muscles, and it's like going to the gym sometimes, that we have to be able to stretch in certain ways, and we have to be able to put the force in certain ways from certain parts of your body, from underneath, more than in here, and we have to learn how to let go. But there is also a whole lot to be said for learning how to get out of your own way. So I mentioned the flight freeze response. Sorry, I'm a little scattered today. I'm trying to keep on one track and it's not happening very well. I just get so excited. I talked about the fight or freeze response, which is to cut off. And then the fight response, if you're trying to sing that note and you get the feedback that it's tight and squeezy and the sound is not what you want it to be. If you're a fighter, you'll just keep trying to force it, and you just put more effort in from these muscles. That's usually the go-to, right? So instead of backing off, you'll be just like, I really got to make this note happen, because I don't know, we feel like our life depends upon it sometimes. So instead of opening up, we just double down. So we go, ee, and then we really force it. And that leads to probably injury, honestly, over time. So when I talk about using the feedback cycles, it really is important to have playtime. And this is really important all the time when you're learning anything new, but especially singing, because it's a bodily instrument. You have to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone, try things that you've never felt before. You have to give yourself a safe space to do that. And so if you're trying to try out other things in front of other people, it might be too much for your nervous system to handle in the beginning. So what I like to say is everybody needs a sandbox, right? Whether that's your car or your shower or going on a long walk in the woods or something. Safe space that you can go so nobody will hear you make these weird, uncomfortable noises. But you have to be able to try different sounds and different things. But when you're trying these different sounds, I want it to be from a place of ease is your first priority, first and foremost, always. Like, I don't want you to get into a place where you're trying to make this note happen and you're just forcing it and doing anything possible just to make that note happen by any means. Like, that's not what I mean by playtime. I mean from a place of, my goal is to have these muscles relax and chill. You're just supporting the steering wheel like you are in a car. Like, you're not making huge turns and huge muscles in there, huge forced actions. You are getting out of the way. At the end of the day, you're just treating your instrument like it is this beautiful thing that already knows how to do what it needs to do. Because it does, because you know how to make sound already, you know how to breathe already. We're just playing in a different realm with this mechanism. Hopefully that makes sense. So when we're talking about using your whole body, I'm talking about letting your breath expand, letting your lungs release down, feeling how that belly breath feels, feeling how the 3D torso breath feels, letting your shoulders come back and down, feeling some extra space maybe at the back of your neck, because you're a 3D being. We're learning about how to create space forward, back, to the sides, just feeling into all of the spaces that we might not usually lean into giving space when you're singing. So I really like to stand up when we're practicing this. So just pretend I'm standing up because I don't want to move my mic right now. But even if you're sitting down, you can let your torso be in a place that feels like it's standing up. So you can lift your ribs out of your hips a little bit. You can lift your shoulders out of your ribs a little bit. You can lift your head out of your shoulders a little bit. Make sure your hips are not tilted too far forward or too far back, just kind of neutral. And then you're feeling that float up. You're floating yourself up out of your hips, out of the ground, out of your feet. If you're standing up, you can feel your hips kind of float out above your leg joints even. Like make sure there's space in there. Move around a little bit. Do a little, I don't know, it feels like an interpretive dance kind of movement, just to feel that space in your body instead of how we usually feel, at least how I feel, which is stiff. So if you can feel a little more movement in there, we get to this place of, oh, I have room to breathe a little lower, right? I have room to unclench my jaw. I have room to stick out my tongue a little more. I have room to move my body in different ways than it is used to moving every single day. So then you have room to play with making different sounds because you're allowing your whole mechanism to move in different ways. So if you're standing up, you can maybe sway from side to side, put weight into one leg than the other. If you're sitting down, you can do the same thing just with your rib cage. Just filling a little extra space in there. And then when we go to sing something, feel into that lift, that floatiness without the stiffness. And so, for example, if I'm going to sing the national anthem, I don't know why that's coming to my head. Oh, say, can you see? I have so much more lightness and ability to play with my placement and vowel shape and lung capacity than I would if I would just stand stiff and still. Oh, say, can you see? Like it feels a little more forced. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I wasn't feeling like I could take as big of a breath, like as relaxed of a breath, sending my breath lower. I didn't feel like I could get my voice out as far because I was pushing and forcing, and so it felt like it was all coming from here. Try it both ways right now and see how it feels. So like just stay stiff, maybe how you would normally stand. A lot of us stand like this or sit like this and in weird ways, and we like hang our head out here. And we just force the sound to come from this little box right here. So try that. Oh, say, can you see? Not terrible, right? A little stiff though. So then imagine like you're standing, or actually stand if you can, if you're in a place where you can do that. Feel the floatiness. Feel all of your vertebrae float on top of each other with space in the middle. You want that space feeling. So feel the little movements that come in naturally. Feel the swaying maybe that happens if you're standing. Roll your shoulders back. Imagine you have angel wings on your back and open them up. Lift your head up out of here. Let your jaw relax. Feel the space in the back of your throat, the back of your mouth. That back soft palate can lift up a little bit. Maybe you feel like your tongue is a little tight in the back when you're singing. So maybe you find a little more space in your pharynx by letting your tongue kind of stick out a little bit. And I don't mean like, I mean just like a little more so that it comes out of that throat back there. Just play with that feeling where you can find space. Now sing the same thing with that space, with the floatiness, with the movement involved. Ready? Oh, say, can you see? My abs are working. They're getting that fast airstream out. I'm getting out of the way of the actual mechanism, and I'm letting it do its thing. My vowel shape is automatically taller and easier. I'm letting my placement go even further because my abs are helping me get there. It's just exponentially easier. So I really like this idea of singing with your whole body. Like, imagine, let's take this one step further. You're just finding space in your body, but now let's think about actually singing from your whole body. Imagine your entire body vibrating and resonating with this sound that you're making. And so you become the instrument, not just this little space. So find your space again, do whatever you need to do to feel as open as possible. Sometimes that means like turn your palms outward, forward, open your chest even more, just for a second, give yourself a little extra space, and then come back to a really neutral, aligned space and sing from your whole body. Oh, say, can you see? And you feel a little more connection to the ground with your feet. You feel the sound buzzing in your head, maybe a little more. You feel it buzzing in your chest, depending on where you are. You feel it coming out of you, and you see exactly where it's going to outside of you. This is what I mean when I talk about space. We're talking about not just the space inside your body, which is very important, but I'm talking about the space around your body. I forget which teacher I heard this from, but they said, fill up the space, fill up the room with your voice, because you're not just singing forward, you're making noise that reverberates around you, behind you, to the sides. So if you're doing that, you're automatically using your instrument in the way it was created, to make sound. Like, if you think about it, we are created to send sound like many hundreds of feet in the distance. Like, you can, like at a football game or something, you can call out and have the entire field, the entire stadium hear you, because of this beautiful voice that we have been given. And if we put so many rules and over analyze things and think it has to be so pretty and sound a certain way, like a certain person, we're just shutting down our voice's natural abilities. And so when you're thinking about your whole body and you're letting it resonate, you're filling up this space, you're allowing this instrument to do what it was meant to do, what you were given at birth to make sound with, right? We're not trying to put it in a box or put it in a genre. We are just a noise machine, a beautiful resonating noise machine. So I want you to think of that. We'll do it one more time, same thing. And I want you to think about filling up the space behind you, the space to the side of you. If you're in a place where you don't feel safe to sing out loud, you don't have to do this. You can come back and watch this later. But I do want you to try this at some point today. Number one, you're feeling the floatiness, you're feeling the space inside your body. Number two, you're putting on your angel wings. You're feeling your whole body being the instrument. And number three, you're creating this resonating space around you, 3D, like a big old bubble around you. Okay, ready? Let's do it. Oh, say, can you see? So then that E vowel that at the beginning was tight, E, is now open, relaxed, naturally, creating so much sound. Like at the end of that, I just felt so good. I just kept leaning into it. I wasn't trying to get it hundreds of feet in the distance because I just trusted that it was going there. I was feeling more into the back and sides that I never really feel into, but it felt so good and so loud and so easy because I wasn't trying to force anything. I wasn't trying to manipulate anything. I was just being a sound machine because that's how I was made. So hopefully you can feel a little bit of that ease when you try this for yourself. Highly encourage finding a safe space for yourself where you can feel into the absolute volume and power of your voice without being self-conscious. Take a drive somewhere. You don't have to be going anywhere. The car is a really nice place where you're pretty sure nobody else can hear you. In the shower in the morning, you know, whatever fits your lifestyle, just find a place where your nervous system can make noise and feel safe at the same time. And even if you're in a space where you're pretty sure nobody can hear you and your nervous system is still dysregulated when you go to sing and you go to make this sound, going through the body. Remember, it doesn't always work to tell the gremlin to F off. A lot of times we have to really just remind our body that it is safe. So if you do tapping, you know, this stuff could be really a nice place to start from. I like to just give myself a nice big hug. Just doing this for 10 seconds reminds my body, my whole system settles like snow in a snow globe. You can imagine just all of your atoms just settling. You can fully relax your lower abs, breathe into your belly. Close your eyes. Give yourself the ability to be in a space of just release for a moment. You don't have to be anything. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go anywhere. You are safe in this moment. And then stay here if you need to while you practice noise making, while you're in your sound sandbox. Stay here so you can train your body to think, yes, I am safe to make noise. I am held. I'm taken care of. Nobody's going to get mad at me. Nobody's going to kick me out of the group. Nobody's going to leave me for dead, because this is what your biology is saying. Remember, I'm safe. And then make noise from here. Just make sure to feel into the spine and make sure you're giving it the upward lift that it needs so that you're not stiff and crunched up. So as much as you can, I want you to come at singing from giving your body what it needs, first of all. So that includes giving your spine the lift, finding the floatiness, making sure you're hydrated enough, making sure you're well fed and well slept. Don't try and be doing a really hard singing practice if you're running on 2 hours of sleep, if your rest of your body is already stressed. Make sure you're coming at it from a place where you're giving your voice a good environment to sing from. And then give yourself the space to play. Like, I think of play as like part of the food groups, right? We need to eat vegetables, we need to eat all the food groups, but we also need to play. We also need to have fun, especially when it comes to our voice, because so often if you are here, you are a perfectionist, you're an overthinker, you put so much weight on your voice just because you want to sing so badly that we often forget that all we need to do is take that weight off, right? Just let it be a silly thing for a little bit. Let it be something like, you know, you put a kid in a sandbox, they make castles, they play around, they make tunnels, they dig holes. They don't care about what they're creating out of it. They're not caring about what people are seeing. They're not thinking about like, oh, I have to like win this sandcastle building contest. No, they're just playing in the sand. And so this is why I call it the sandbox, because it's so important to give yourself that space to just make noise, explore your own space, that 3D box that I talk about. Explore, where can I put this sound a little bit farther forward, and what does that take, and where does that tension come in, and how can I make that sound without so much tension? How can I make a big belty note without pushing so hard? You're just asking yourself all these questions and experimenting and exploring your own sound in a safe space, so that when you bring it into a song, you can just tap into that feeling, knowing that the sound is not the most important thing, the feeling is the most important thing. And that's what I want to leave you with, because I say this all the time, but I don't think I say it enough. Like, if you are focusing on the sound, you are most likely going to be in comparison mode. You're most likely going to be in fixing things before it comes out. You're most likely going to be in manipulation mode, because you're so worried about it sounding right and getting it perfect and sounding like whoever sang the song in the first place. Even if it's your own song, we're like, am I doing this right? I don't know. What's right? You get to decide. The only time I'm going to tell you that you're doing something wrong is if I feel like you're going to hurt yourself. Like if you are forcing, like I was giving a sample of earlier, like that, like you can hear their neck muscles working. That is not the best if you do it a lot over time. So notice what's happening in your body. Notice if you're forcing. Know what your default is. It's really helpful to know if you're a fighter or a flighter or a freezer, so you know what your default reaction is to struggle, to conflict, to a challenge. So then you can give yourself some grace about it and not tell yourself, oh, this is my fault because I'm having this fight reaction. No. It's just how you were built. It's your software, your hardware that's built in. And then give yourself some space to make some noise if you can. Just allow it to be easy. Allow it to be less expectations if you can. I know it's hard because we're perfectionists. We avoid imperfection at all costs. But this is why this kind of a space is so important. This is why I hold the space that I do in my sessions. It's why I created Vocal Magic. It's why I am teaching the way I do. Like, sure, technique is great, and you can learn that from a whole bunch of people who know a whole lot more than me. But this stuff, this space, we got to learn to hold for ourselves. And sometimes it's not possible to hold for ourselves, which is why we have this community. And that's totally okay. Sometimes it's really hard to hold space for yourself, especially if you're really deep in gremlin mode, or you're deep in anxiety attack, or you are, just struggling in general. And that's totally okay. And this is why we need community. We need other people who feel what you're feeling, other people who are striving for what you're striving for. Because sometimes when you talk to your family about this stuff, about struggles as an artist, they're like, cool, go do something else. And that's not very helpful. So this is why I created this community, so that we have a safe space to share about what you're feeling with. If you're not a part of my community, let me know. I'm pretty sure I have a link for it up there. It's a great little space, and I keep trying to remind my students to use it more, because this is what it's for. It's of course not the same as being in person, but this is what we do when I live out in the middle of the ocean and nobody else lives close to me. So I think it's really important to go connect. So if you're new to my world, go hang out in the community. I have questions in there, discussion topics all the time. I post cute little memes, and I go live once a week. I'm in there right now, as well as on Instagram here. So check it out. Also, if you're curious on how to work with me, there's also other links up there that you can look at. There's a cute little mini ebook that I wrote that's called Magic Tricks to Sing Better in Seconds. And there is a challenge that is about to go behind a paywall. So go check it out now before it does. And if you have questions, let me know. I also think that there is a link in there for a trial session with me. So if you or anybody you know is curious about what it would mean to work with me, I don't have a lot of space right now. So if you know somebody that you think would really vibe with me, send them on over very soon. Things are gaining momentum in my world and my studio is very often close to full. So I'm really excited to do this more work with you more often. I have been kind of absent from this social media space for a while, but I'm hoping to get more back into it because I have so much to share all the time. I'm having amazing conversations. So I'm going to bring little pieces of that into here. So if you're curious, follow along. And I love you, and I will see you very soon. Thanks for being here.